Hello out there, everybody. This is Wild Bill. I am your host, and I'm going to be bringing you a grain of salt from Studio B. Well, as some of you probably realized, and some may be happy about, and some might be sad, I've been out for a while, and I had to go on the injured reserve list. I dummied up and messed around and got burned pretty bad. My arm. No big deal. God was gracious and merciful to me. Gave me plenty of time to think about my stupidity and the things that I need to be more careful about and not get too prideful about. Anyway, more about that later, but just wanted to share with you today, and this might take a couple of videos. This is a grain of salt. And, but that's kind of sort of what I wanted to talk to you about a little bit was, growing up, have you ever said to to someone or to your kids or whatever, it's high time that you grow up? Well, and most of the time we say this to our kids, and my kids are all pretty much grown now, and I still got a teenager in the house, but the others are above 20, I'll say that. But the reason we say these things like that, time you grow up, is because we want them to become the best that they can be. We want them to be mature adults, and just because somebody might be an adult per se, according to the government, that does not mean that they have arrived and they are actually mature. There's a lot of people out there that are not mature, and we need to become mature believers, right? And over in Ephesians, I believe it's chapter 4, it says that we should no longer be children tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine or teaching that is out there available. And stepping aside from that for just a second, there's a lot of teaching out there, and not all of it is his teaching. And if we're not mature and we don't grow up, we ain't gonna be able to tell the difference. And so that verse goes on. It says that we're tricked by the craftiness and cleverness of men. People all the time say, you got to be watching out for the devil. He'll trick you. He's a trickster. He's crafty, and this is true, but the Bible says more about the craftiness and trickery of men and the false teachings of men and than it does about the devil. Why? Well, because the devil uses men, and he dresses them up and helps them to dress up like they are what they really are, is wolves, and they're in sheep's clothing. And so I'm sorry, folks. I'm having to really pay attention here. And so we don't want to be led astray by the craftiness of men. And it says we need to maintain the truth in love, and we grow up in all respects into him who is the head, the Messiah. So that's the direction we should be going in, right? Is growing up in him, so that we ultimately become like him. And if we're not careful, we stay stunted and immature You know, we stay childish. And these things ought not be. And we need to grow up spiritually, right? And, you know, idolatry is one of those things that will keep us from growing up. Idolatry, I mentioned in another video, is defined as self-elevation or self-worship. And it's rampant in the world. And I'll go this far. It's rampant in the church. It's rampant in what we would call believers. There's so many people that are idolatrous. They think of themselves more highly than they ought. And one thing that will help us to overcome and grow up is very simple, and yet, you know, very difficult. And it's basically, where does the glory go? You know, you probably wondering, what in the world are you talking about, Wild Bill? Where does the glory go? I mean, I'll say this. Even your reception, your receiving of the gospel, did you know that it was not for your sake? People, you know, and we always say, you know, the gospel is for us. He did these things for us. And yes, but that's not the primary reason. The primary reason that he came and delivered the gospel to us was not for our sake. Not the primary reason. And I know some of you thinking, boy, you didn't just burn your arm, you burned your brain. Well, we're going to get into this and talk more about it, but don't think too highly of yourself. Get in the Word and find out what your place is and who you really are and who you are to Him, so that you will grow and not be a baby for the rest of your natural life here. So I'll continue this in another video because I just run out of time on this one, but I appreciate all your well wishes and your prayers and all that stuff. I really do. It's been a trial, but it produces endurance, right? And we grow. So I'm thankful and I'm content with such as He brings me, bar none. Love you, folks. Take all I said with a grain of salt.